Here is the thing about Farming Simulator 25. It's right there in the name. You're supposed to farm, but after hundreds of hours in this game, I've realized something. Farming can get overwhelming, even boring sometimes. Think about it. You've got to plow the field, then cultivate it, then seed it, then fertilize it, then deal with weeds. And that just for one crop. It's a never-ending cycle that can drain the fun right out of the game. So I asked myself a question. What if I don't farm at all? And that's when this challenge was born. I'm going to beat Farming Simulator 25 without touching a single field. But here is where it gets really insane. I'm adding even more restrictions to make this nearly impossible. Starting with $0, no mods allowed, no contracts whatsoever, no leasing equipment, no loans from the bank. Basically, I'm stripping away every safety net the game gives you. It is just me, the Riverbend Springs map, and whatever crazy strategies I can come up with. And honestly, I wasn't even sure this was possible when I started. Okay, so I'm staring at my bank account. $0, 0 cents. I can't farm, can't do contracts, can't lease anything. I literally cannot do any of the normal starting strategies. I sat there for probably 20 minutes just thinking. How do I even make my first dollar? And then it hit me. The collectibles. See, scattered across Riverbend Springs are 25 hidden collectibles. Most players ignore them. But here is the secret. Each one is worth $10,000. That's $250,000 just sitting there, waiting to be found. Now I already knew where every single collectible was located on this map from my previous videos. I'll put a card in the top right corner if you want to check that out. So I set off on this treasure hunt. First collectible found. $10,000 in the bank. That might not sound like much, but when you're starting from literally nothing, that's everything. That's hope. I spent the next few minutes tracking down every single one. Collectible after collectible, each one bringing me closer to having actual capital to work with. And finally, after collecting all 25, $250,000 sitting in my account. For the first time since starting this challenge, I could actually breathe. I had options now, but I had to be smart about this. One wrong investment and I could set myself back hours. Here is what most players don't understand about Farming Simulator 25. This game rewards passive income more than active grinding. If you can set up systems that make money while you sleep, you're going to dominate. I purchased Farmland 67. It was one of the cheaper plots and more importantly, it was big enough for what I had planned. Then came the real investment. 2 large solar collectors. These things generate passive income every single month, based on how much sun we get. In good months, they can bring in just under $9,000 each. In bad months, well, that's a problem we'll deal with later. I placed both collectors on my land, watching my bank account drain with each purchase. With my remaining $20,000, I bought a small wind energy converter for $11,400 and another small solar collector. And just like that, I was down to $2,200 in the bank. I'm not gonna lie, seeing that number was terrifying. I had just spent almost everything on equipment that wouldn't even pay itself off for months. If this plan failed, I'd be completely broke with no way to recover. But I believed in this strategy. So I did the only thing I could do. I fast forwarded time and waited. 1 month passed, then another, then another. 1 full year later, I checked my account. The solar collectors had generated just over $100,000 in profit. The plan was working, but it was also incredibly slow. And I knew relying on this alone wasn't going to get me to millions. I needed to be more aggressive. I needed a second strategy. With my $100,000, I went straight to the dealership and made 3 purchases. A Fiat tractor for $74,250, a winch for $8,500 and a chainsaw for $1,000. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, why do you need a tractor if you're not farming? Trust me, this is where the plan gets interesting. I drove my new equipment back to Farmland 67, the land I'd purchased earlier. And if you remember, that land came with something valuable. Trees. Lots and lots of trees. Here is the thing about trees in Farming Simulator. They are basically free money just standing there. All you have to do is cut them down and hold them to a selling point. So that's exactly what I did. I fired up the chainsaw and started cutting. Tree after tree after tree. The sound of the chainsaw became the soundtrack to my life. Each tree that fell represented dollars in my pocket, but cutting them down was only half the battle. I had to transport each one to the selling point. I'd attach the logs to my winch, drive my tractor slowly to the selling point, and make the sale. This process was tedious. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It took hours, but with each trip, my bank account grew. Cut, winch, drive, sell, repeat. Finally, after clearing every tree I could legally cut on my property, I'd earned an additional $44,000, $63,000 in the bank. Not bad, but I was thinking bigger, much bigger. I fast forwarded to December, and that's when I noticed something that would change everything. December in Farming Simulator 25 is special. The market prices shift, and if you know what to look for, there are opportunities everywhere. I was checking the commodity prices when I noticed something interesting. Oat was selling at the grain barge terminal for around $1,900 per 1,000 liters. But here is the kicker. You could buy oat directly from the store for only $1,400 per 1,000 liters. Do the math, that is a $500 profit per 1,000 liters, just from driving from point A to point B. This wasn't farming. This was arbitrage. This was flipping. But I had a problem. I had a tractor but no way to transport grain. So I bought an 8,000 liter grain trailer for $9,000. Time to test this theory. I drove to the store and purchased my first load. 8,000 liters of oat for $11,200. Loaded it into my trailer, then drove straight to the grain barge terminal. Sold it for $14,500. That's a profit of $3,300 for one trip. That took maybe 10 minutes. I literally said out loud, "This is broken." So I did it again and again and again. Each trip was pure profit. I was making money faster than I ever could have by farming. After multiple runs, I had made an additional $37,000 in profit from flipping alone. Combined with my passive income and tree sales, I was now sitting on over $122,000. And I had my sights set on an even bigger investment. Remember how I said passive income is king? Well, I was about to take that concept to the next level. I purchased a debris crusher for $99,000 and placed it on my land. This building is basically a money printer. It automatically generates stones every single month that you can sell. But unlike solar collectors that depend on sun or wind turbines that depend on the weather, the debris crusher is consistent. Same output every single month. It's the most reliable passive income source in the entire game. Of course, buying the building was just the start. I needed to set up the infrastructure to sell the stones automatically. I placed a selling point right in front of the crusher for $7,500. Then I bought a conveyor belt for $5,000 to move stones from the crusher storage directly to the selling point. Set it up, configured it to auto-sell, and boom, completely passive income stream established. This was the foundation of my empire. While I was out doing other things, the debris crusher would just keep churning out money in the background. But I wasn't done optimizing, not even close. I went back and bought a second grain trailer for $9,000. Now, I could attach both trailers to my tractor and haul 16,000 liters of oat per trip. That's $7,000 profit per run instead of $3,300. The flipping operation was now twice as efficient. I spent the rest of December running oats back and forth, watching my money grow exponentially. By the time I stopped and checked, I was back at $100,000. Ready for the next major move. This is where my strategy evolved from making money to making serious money. I purchased Farmland 74 for just under $102,000. And I know what you're thinking. Didn't you just spend all your money again? Yes. But here is the genius part. This wasn't a long-term investment. This was a flip. Farmland 74 came absolutely loaded with trees. Dozens and dozens of them. And remember what I learned earlier. Trees are free money. So the plan was simple. Buy the land, cut down every single tree, sell the timber, then sell the land back. The land purchase was basically a temporary loan that I'd get refunded while I kept all the profits from the trees. But here is where I tried to get even smarter. While I was cutting trees, I thought, what if I could make money from flipping oats at the same time? I bought a buggy for $13,600 with a 3-point attachment, thinking I could use it to transport oats while simultaneously managing the tree cutting. Yeah, that didn't work. Turns out the buggy didn't have a trailer hitch. Couldn't attach my grain trailers, and even if it could, it probably wasn't powerful enough to pull that load anyway. I immediately sold it back. Lost a few $100s on the transaction, but lesson learned. I wasn't giving up on the multitasking strategy though. I just needed better equipment. I flipped more oats until I had $70,000. Then went back to the dealership. This time I bought a John Deere tractor for $45,000. Now here is the revised plan. I would load both trailers with oats at the store. Then hire an AI worker to drive the John Deere back and forth between the store and the selling point. Meanwhile, I would personally handle the tree cutting operation on Farmland 74. 2 income streams, same time period, maximum efficiency. This strategy was absolutely crushing it. By the end of December, I'd made $56,000 from wood sales alone, and from the oat flipping operation, an additional $234,000. In January, I continued this double income strategy. Everything was going perfectly until one of the trees got stuck, like floating in mid-air stuck. I spent way too long trying to figure out how to get it down. Eventually, I just had to accept my loss and move on. That tree still haunts me. But despite the floating tree incident, I kept grinding, tree after tree, load after load of oats. Finally, after what felt like forever, Farmland 74 was completely cleared of trees. I even sold the farm barn that came with the property for an extra $1,800. Then came the beautiful moment. I sold the land itself back. Got my $100,000 plus initial investment returned to me. But I kept all the profits from the trees. From this land flipping operation alone, I had earned $181,700 in pure profit. My bank account now showed $567,000, and I knew exactly what was coming next. I kept flipping oats while my passive income streams hummed along in the background. I even found a used trailer at the dealership for $23,200 that could haul 18,500 liters of grain. More capacity, more profit per trip. My AI worker handled one tractor, I handled the other. We were a well-oiled machine, running oats back and forth until I hit my target, $750,000. Now, I could have just kept stacking solar collectors. But here is a problem I'd noticed. Solar collectors are weather dependent. On cloudy months, they barely make anything. So I diversified. I placed a full-size wind turbine on my farmland for $750,000. This was a massive investment, but it solved my weather dependency problem. When there's no sun for the solar collectors, the wind turbine picks up the slack. When there's no wind, the solar collectors carried the load. I was no longer at the mercy of RNG weather patterns. From this point forward, I entered what I call the snowball phase. I would fast forward time until I earned $93,500, then immediately buy another solar collector. Rinse and repeat. The passive income kept growing. More collectors meant more income. More income meant more collectors. The compound growth was exponential. I saved up another $750,000 and bought a second wind turbine. Now I had dual wind turbines, multiple solar collectors, and a debris crusher all working 24/7. And then it happened. I checked my bank account one day after fast forwarding, and there it was, $1 million. Without farming a single field. I just sat there for a moment, taking it in. This challenge that seemed impossible at the start. I had done it, but I wasn't finished yet. With $1 million in the bank, I had proven the concept, but I wanted to push it further. I wanted to see just how far this no farming strategy could go. I reinvested everything back into solar collectors. More and more and more. My farmland started to look like a solar farm rather than anything agricultural. Passive income at this point was insane. Hundreds of thousands of dollars rolling in every single month without me doing anything. I fast forwarded through time, watching the numbers climb. 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, and finally, $5 million. $5 million starting from zero, without planting a single crop in a game called Farming Simulator 25. Looking back at this journey, I'm honestly amazed it worked. When I started with $0 and all those restrictions, I genuinely wasn't sure I could pull this off. But through strategic planning, passive income optimization, market flipping, and resource management, I managed to build an empire on everything except farming. Think about that. In Farming Simulator 25, I made $5 million without doing the one thing the game is designed for. If this video showed you a completely different way to play Farming Simulator 25, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I've got more crazy challenges like this coming, and you definitely don't want to miss them. And if you enjoyed this one, YouTube is recommending another video that you will probably love. Check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.